So I want to give you guys a little update about what's been going on in my life, in my world. It's been a very busy few years, and one thing that's been happening is I've been working with the New York Chiropractic Council, and we've been working on scope. And you know, the two organizations in New York, it's always an interesting dance that goes along there. And I decided that I needed to be proactive in this, not because we want scope change, but to make sure we protect what's there. And so we're getting closer, and we've stopped a whole bunch of stuff that they wanted to put in there. I can guarantee you to all my New York colleagues and everybody else, because New York is intertwined in the big 3 or 4 jewels of the country: California, Florida, New Jersey, New York. These are the biggies. And if something happens there, it just kind of goes along. And so we stopped a lot of things. And I can assure you that drugs, injectables, all the rest of that stuff will not be in the New York scope. Protecting the ability for us to see children without a nurse practitioner overseeing us. Can you imagine that was in there? These people are out to lunch. But, so we, this compromise that always happens, so there's a lot of legalese that takes place in all this stuff. But when you look at the definition of the practice of the profession of chiropractic, which is the first paragraph of a scope law, and that's really what sets forth what we do. So there's a lot of things, but you could pick out and read between the things when it says and or, so if that doesn't apply to you, you can read the sentence and it will go like this: the practice of the profession of chiropractic is the detection and correction of subluxations in the vertebral column and the effects thereof for the purpose of restoring neural integrity. Pretty good, right? So I think it's something we can be proud of. So the other thing that's been happening is something real big I want to share with you guys, something real exciting that's going to happen. I'm going to be starting a research project next month. It's going to be big. I'm going to be doing research with ALS patients. And we're going to be doing the research with the inventor of MRI, Dr. Raymond DiBenedetto. And this all came about 2.5 years ago in Newsday, our local newspaper. There was an article, and it was Jim's McMiracle, and it was about Jim McMahon, the old Bears quarterback. And just like so many of the football players, these guys are suffering post-concussion syndrome, and their lives are destroyed. And what's happening is they're getting dementia at like 40-something years old. And it got so bad for him that sometimes he wouldn't even be able to speak. And he carried around an index card, and it had it written down: if I give you this card, my name is Jim, please call my girlfriend. Wow. And it had the number. Jim McMahon. And he would often go out and forget where he was going. He pulled over, he was recounting a story, he pulled over and called his girlfriend and said, "Where was I going?" She said, "You're going to the bank." He's like, "Where's the bank?" And she had to give him directions out of the parking lot, down the road, etc., there and back. So long and the short of it, he gets hooked up with Dr. DiBenedetto to get a scan of what's called the CCJ, the cranial cervical junction, to specifically look at the cerebrospinal fluid flow, or what's known as CSF hydrodynamics. This is the key here. And this is what we're talking about the effects thereof of a subluxation. What he has found, and what the entire scientific community, it's all out there, it's not just him, he's perfected it a little bit, because DiBenedetto is the creator of Phonar Corporation, which is stand-up or upright MRI. So, and he also found that in the recumbent MRI position, people that needed, they were trying to diagnose if they had any CSF flow problems, they were getting false negatives. And they put them in the upright position, and the weight of gravity pushed the cerebellar tonsils right into that foramen magnum. It's like a cork in the bottle. Because these people were saying, something's screwed up, I'm not right. And they're scanning them, they went through every test, everything's fine, everything's fine. And if they were lucky enough to get there and get scanned in the upright position, they now got the answer. So in the article, McMahon was taken care of by an Atlas orthogonal doc named Scott Rosa, who's up in Rock Hill, New York. And Scott had been doing concussion work, and that's how we got hooked up with DiBenedetto. And seeing this whole, the CTE, the cerebellar tonsillar ectopia situation. And he said he realized he had to do upright MRIs. That was the only thing that he could do. And so he started working with DiBenedetto, and DiBenedetto starts looking and seeing these same problems with flow, and starts talking to Rosa and says, listen, I want to send some other people over to you. And he sends over an MS patient who was a friend of DiBenedetto's. And he started realizing there was a problem with the flow. Rosa starts taking care of him, and these people, not just this person, multiple people, because once the word gets out in that community, because again, it goes social media like wildfire, because people are looking for answers. So once the word got out, he's getting all these MS patients to come in. And he starts seeing that their flow studies are improving, and so are the symptomatology of their condition. The plaques that they were seeing on the neural tissue reversing. In the book that he co-authored with DiBenedetto, and I saw the MRIs, I saw the studies, it's a 46-year-old male, 6 weeks now, he was diagnosed with MS, so he had the sclerosis spots everywhere, all over his brain and spinal cord. And his diagnosis was, go home and get yourself in order. This is going to go. So he gets hooked up with Rosa 6 weeks later. 6 weeks later. He's asymptomatic. Rescan him, clean MRI. So don't tell me that the Creator created this and said, you can regenerate anywhere except the central nerve system. Because that's the BS that has been given to everybody, including these people. And my brother's, I'll tell you an interesting story. My brother's an internist. So I bring him down to the meeting. We brought in Rosa and DiBenedetto. And I said, listen, I want you to sit in, listen, tell me what you think. So afterwards, I go up to him, I said, so what do you think? He's like, so you're going to adjust their neck and they're going to get better? He goes, wouldn't you guys have seen that happen before? No. I said, well, you know what? You tell me, what happens when these people get diagnosed? Even if we see them first and we know something's up. So, you know what? I think you better go get a scan. What happens when they hit your world? They never come back to ours. And if they do, what do they tell you? Just don't let them touch your neck. And I said, but you know what? Think about this. I don't have the stats, but I can tell you, I've been seeing patients for a long time. The percentage of people in our practice with progressive neurological degenerative disorders, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, our percentage that we see of people that are under care on a regular basis, it just doesn't happen. The ones we do see are the ones that started later in life. But let me tell you, these people that have been under care for a long time, you just don't see it. And you certainly don't see it in the same number as the general population. It's got to hold some water. There's a connection. So we're going to prove that connection. So what we're doing is, well, let me just say a little bit more. So DiBenedetto is the one who actually brought up all that list. In the article, he said he feels that all neurodegenerative disorders, the ALS, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and the one that troubles him most, childhood autism, is all directly linked to abnormal cerebrospinal fluid flow caused by an upper cervical subluxation. Now, he didn't use the subluxation word. He used misalignment or a dysfunction or whatever he used, but we know what it means. That's powerful coming from a scientist, an inventor, the medical doctor. This guy, being the inventor of MRI, holds credibility, and it's going to change some things. It's really, really interesting. So it's interesting how things then progress from there. And you know when the universe is at work, putting you at the right place at the right time, and how things just all started coming together. So one of my patients is she's the widow of a chiropractor from New York Chiropractic College, one of the instructors, Frank Langelotti. Some of you may know the name. So his widow moved down the road from my office. I start taking care of her. She's involved with the local ALS chapter called Ride for Life. And she had a personal loss with ALS. And she's like, you got to meet Chris. You got to meet Chris. Maybe there's something chiropractic can do. And I said, yeah, let's get it together. We didn't get everything together, but I'm at a Cosmos soccer game, the professional soccer team out at Long Island. And we're there with the kids' soccer team. And I didn't realize it's ALS Awareness Night. And who's on the field? Chris Pendergast, the founder of Ride for Life. So I'm like, I got to meet this guy. And so after the event, and what they were doing was, you see my little pin here? It was to raise awareness. They were handing out placards, red cards, and in soccer it said, give ALS the red card. And in soccer, that means you get thrown out. So just like the ice bucket challenge, freeze out ALS, just something to raise awareness. So I get to meet him. He comes off the field, they bring him up, and he's right in my section. I go down, I say hello to him, introduce myself, and he said, DiBenedetto. He goes, your father was Jack? I said, yeah. He goes, I went to your dad about 40 years ago. And he goes, from my neck problem. Unfortunately, he didn't get the message then. And he turns to his wife and he goes, and your father was on the fire department with Jack, and he would always go once a week to see him. Too bad he wasn't. So we get hooked up. A couple things happen. We wind up moving forward. I meet DiBenedetto. I talk to him, and I said, how would you like to prove your hypothesis? And he goes, I'd love to. You got access to ALS patients? I said, yeah. So he said, let's do it. Let's move forward with this. So I go to the ALS Foundation dinner, and I meet with, in the VIP room with Chris before it all starts. There's over 800 people there. And I have the chance to a little one-on-one with him for a second right before it starts. I say hello to him. He asked, where are you going to be getting the patients from? I said, well, from you guys, plus we got to get in touch with the ALS Association of New York, the main chapter. And I said, I understand there's a new president. And he said, yeah, her name is Judy Brown. I think she's going to be here tonight. Standing at the end of his wheelchair, this woman goes, Judy Brown? I'm Judy Brown. And he looks at me, he goes, timing is everything. And I was just like, I just looked up and I said, all right, thank you. So she was very intrigued. And we started talking about ALS and the statistics. And one of the things that's very interesting, she said, we don't know why, but we talked about the soccer players, and she said the military has a twice as, and so does the soccer players, by the way, twice as prevalent number of cases. And I said, well, is it combat or everybody? And they said, no, it's everybody. So that's interesting. So therefore, the common denominator there is either basic training or mass inoculations. And she looked at me, and the nurse that runs the clinic said, you know what? I guarantee you that's it. Wow. So it was pretty cool. And she said, so interestingly enough, she says, do you know Stony Brook University is where we have, which is in my backyard, we have a ALS clinic. There's 80 patients there. Great. Well, that's where we're going to get our patients from, all falling together. So we go to the function, and they said, by the way, there's Chris says there's somebody here I want you to meet. He's been recently diagnosed, and I think he'd be great to start with the research. So I meet up with him, and he goes, yeah, I'm a big fan of chiropractic. I've gotten adjusted since I was a kid. And he said, my father was basically paralyzed, and they wanted to do surgery. Somebody told him, you got to go see this chiropractor. He'll fix you. Where is he? Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. He goes, maybe you know him, Clarence Gonstead. I just looked up, I was like, you're involved now too. That's cool. So he said he fixes up his dad. He asked Clarence, can you fix my kid? He's got asthma. He goes, go home and bring him back. And you know the story. He got better. He wasn't under chiropractic care his whole life, this guy. He's on and off. But you just see how things are just moving together. It's real interesting. Exactly, right? So, guys, this is a game changer. Because what's gonna happen? Let me tell you really quick about the research. I've set it up like BJ did. We're bringing in neurologists to do the evaluations for every one of them. They're going to be evaluated, they're going to be sent to the local hospital to get x-rays that I've already worked with them at. They're going to analyze and mark up everything exactly how I want them. I want hands off. I don't want any touching of this except for the adjustment. They're going to do that. It's all going to be objective. We're going to go bring them to the scanner. They're going to get scanned. I'm going to be there. By the way, also, another brother of ours who's going to be working with us, Tony Carino. I brought Tony in. The third person we were planning on bringing in was Scott Rosa. Unfortunately, for personal reasons, he's not going to be able to do it. My plan was to say, hey, you know what, how awesome it would be if we're doing this research to also see how the different techniques stack up. Because how awesome would it be if they were all right there at the same number? But you know what? Listen, I'm a realist. If I'm getting 30%, and Scott's doing AO and getting 95%, well, I need to learn AO. But let's figure it out, because we got a big job. So they're going to get scanned. They're going to come out of the scanner. They're going to get adjusted, and they're going to get put back into the scanner and get rechecked right then and there. So there's no question about what's happening. Then they're going to follow up 2 to 3 times a week, and every 3 months go through the same process. Scan a child, hopefully before they start taking vaccines. Scan kids before they are getting into contact sports. Scan whoever, adults. And if they get the scan and they go, you know what, you got a 30% reduction in your CSF flow, what do you think they're going to say? Well, that doesn't sound good, and what can I do about it? Go see a chiropractor. This is huge. This is what I feel is going to plant the flag for chiropractic. We need a game changer in order to do it. And you know what? When you have somebody, and I brought DiBenedetto in as a co-researcher, not just to use his facility and his wisdom, he's named as a co-researcher. We have the financial backing and the notoriety of him behind it. DiBenedetto, Carino, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever. They may find us two in a ditch somewhere, but they're not going to take out DiBenedetto, okay? So this is going to be big. And had put up a quote from BJ about talking about the future, and said, our profession is destined to save mankind. Now is the time. It's going to happen. And you're going to see Chris Pendergast next month embark on the next ride for life. He's going to be in his wheelchair going from Yankee Stadium to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness. And when you guys see that, talk it up with your patients. I want to feel a vibration. Tell them what's going on. Tell them the connection with chiropractic. I want to feel the vibration from my entire family here. It's exciting. I'm excited, and thank you for letting me share.